Okay, so this drawing assignment, I took a photograph of everybody and I put a very strong light source so we have nice light shapes and shadow shapes to work with. And you guys are going to choose a toned piece of paper. And there's a lot of different colors of toned paper that you can use for this assignment. I just kind of chose gray. And the first thing we're going to do is get the proportions down. And we're using two different methods. We're using triangulation and also the Barg method kind of mixed in between all this to try to help us get the proportions as exact as we possibly can when we start drawing these. So, so with the Barg, if you're unfamiliar with the Barg, is you start off with the cross. So I put in a vertical line, and you try to want to make that vertical line in a good spot where there's a lot of points that it lines up to. So in this case, I had my vertical line like line up to the corner of my eye, to the end of my nose, my eyebrow, and you know, maybe it lines up a little bit of a section of my sweater, and so that works great. And you also want to put in a horizontal line similar where you want it to be crossing lots of points, because you're going to be making these reference points, and a reference point is a point that you can pin. It could be like the edge of a nose, the very tip top of a head, or like the corner of an ear, etc. What those are. Okay, so I got my cross also onto my paper. Okay, and so I got my pencil, and I also handed out these skewers out to everyone to kind of help measure. Okay, first thing I need to do is create 3 points, and I want these points to not move, and I'm 100% sure that's where they are. We're going to be using these points to refer to a lot of other points to get things exact. Okay, so one point is a pretty good obvious one, is right at the center of the cross. So that's a really good point to measure everything from. What I'm going to do in my paper, or my little drawing over here, and let me kind of just zoom up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I want to find similar units throughout this entire picture. So for example, like a unit can be from the corner of the eye to the bottom of the chin. And I'm going to see what else lines up that way. And I've been kind of playing around with this for some time. I know the corner of the eye to the chin is the exact same length as the center of the line to the very top of my head. And so I can try to use that. I would advise against it because I'm going to try to stick with something that's on that vertical line. So I'm going to look for something else. So the very top of my head here to the corner of my eye is a good one. Is also the exact same length. Well, it's hard to find something, so I kind of made one up. Where I have a shadow right here in the chin, shaped right here, and it just happens to be the corner of that shadow is a reference point. So I'm going to stick with that. So I'm going to go to my drawing, and I'm just going to basically make a wild guess of where I think that point is going to be. So I'm going to say, like, maybe the top of this head is going to be right here. And I'm just going to take my measuring stick here, measure from the center of the top of the head. Okay, I know that next point is going to be right here, because I knew when I measured this that they were exactly the same on my photo. Okay, now I have 3 points that are not moving or going anywhere. I can start figuring out other things. So let's say I'm going to try to find the point at the very top of my head here. So this is where it kind of gets tricky. You want to make sure that your paper doesn't move whatsoever, and it is lined up exactly with your other paper. This is a lot easier done with an easel, but we're just going to be doing it onto the table right now. Oh, go ahead and do your stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take my skewer. Okay, so paper's lined up exactly, not moving around. And this always helps if I close one eye. I'm going to take my skewer and I'm going to say, okay, from the center of the center of this cross, I'm going to line it up to that reference point there. And I'm going to hold it still, and I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm just going to make a little mark where it supposedly might be. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this other point that I have here. What is the angle from the top of the head to this top of the forehead? And if you move, you might end up in trouble here. Okay, closing my eye. And where those lines meet and cross is where the point is. And they're all not crossing and meeting the same place. So that means I kind of goofed up somewhere. So I have to come back and remeasure. Again, it helps if you close one eye when you do this. Okay, that one feels right. This one is a little off. Okay, I can see where this center line is where I got off, because this one's meeting right in there too. All right, so top of the head. Boom. Okay. And let's say maybe I'm going to try to find the back of the head in this point right here. So this takes time. Getting your proportions down just takes time. And if you're in a room where there's a lot of artists drawing, they're going to spend most of their time working on the proportions and making sure that they're exact before, you know, they don't just whip out a pencil and draw it immediately. They're moving slow, they're thinking about what they're drawing and making sure everything, oh good, all three met up. Okay, so here's the back of that head. And once I got kind of 2 points, you know, I can kind of eyeball, you know, where the curve of this head is going to be, or the curve of this part of the head, etc. Okay, and I can start maybe using these points to kind of analyze, you know, other points that are on this vertical line. Let's see, I'm going to try to figure out quickly where the corner of this eye is. Oops, make sure your paper's lined up. Moved it. Okay. Let's see, it's going to be roughly right there. And then I have the corner of the eye here. I probably want to see how wide that top and bottom of that eye is before I solidify where those marks are. So anyways, so that's just kind of the first half of this, is just getting your proportions down. And once you get your proportions down, I want you guys to work with the Conte crayon. And what we've been talking a lot about is thinking about where is your focal point when you are drawing. And so when I was looking at this picture, I was thinking about, you know, this is my focal point. And so anyways, I probably should make this in a different video.